Hello everyone, I'm Chris Norris, CEO of Techbook Online and star of The Week That Was, a news segment heard every Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. on 900 AM WURD and 900 AM WURD.com. I'm here today with Philadelphia City Commissioner Stephanie Singer, who was elected in 2011 and started office in 2012. We're having a conversation about corrective democracy. Ms. Singer, what would you change about democracy in Philadelphia and in particular your office?
Well, every impediment to a strong democracy in Philadelphia can be resolved with more engagement from people. That is the thing that is really starving our democracy of what it needs. We need more people voting, more people using the power that they earn by voting. We need more people organizing with the confidence that they know how to organize to get what they need from government. Because that's really what democracy is supposed to be all about. That if enough people want something and they organize and they tell their government, do this for us, the government should do this for them, whatever this is.
But so the way you're defining it, Philadelphia doesn't work too much of democracy then, huh?
Right now, no. Philadelphia does not have a functional democracy.
Why is that? What are the essence or what are the pillars of a functioning democracy?
Well, the pillars of a functioning democracy are engagement by the citizens, free, fair elections. Every citizen has the right to vote, uses the right to vote, and has the confidence that their vote is counted as cast, has the confidence that there are real choices for them in the voting booth, and has confidence in their right and ability to go into the booth and cast a vote.
Now, when you go to the voting booth, you need more than just the will to vote. You need information. And a study by the Knight Foundation showed that particularly millennials don't vote in local elections because they just can't find trustworthy information. They can't find a comprehensive place where that information is aggregated. But you say that it's not just a millennial issue.
No, it's not just a millennial issue. That issue keeps a lot of people out of the voting booth. And in fact, it's a Republican talking point. You shouldn't vote if you don't know everything about what you're voting for. If you're not making an informed choice, then, as the talking point says, then you really shouldn't go vote. It's just another way to suppress the vote. Mm-hmm. The notion that you have to know everything before you go and cast your ballot is just another way to suppress the vote. If you really had to know enough, like you could only vote if you knew enough, listen, I don't even know enough. I go into the booth every time. I've spent a lot of time talking to candidates. I have more access to candidates than most people. I have been working on this for a long time, trying to get good information. I don't even know when I go into the booth all the information I need to know.
And now let's just talk about that, because I think that's very interesting. Your job is to oversee fair and free elections in Philadelphia. And one would assume, based on that title, that you know everything that there is to know about elections. If you, as the highest authority on that subject matter, doesn't have the information, how can anybody on the street, the average citizen, the layman, be expected to have the information that it equips? And if that's the case, what do we change? How do we change?
Well, so there are a couple things to change. One thing is that Philadelphia could do a much better job of informing citizens about the basic things about elections. So, for example, if you go to Washington State or you go to Washington, D.C. or California, many other places around this country, every voter gets a voter guide before each election. They get it mailed to their home. And it says, this is the date of the election, these are the names of the candidates, and often they will even have room for the candidates themselves to put in information about themselves. So it's certainly, the Philadelphia Board of Elections could do a much, much better job of informing the electorate of the basics.
Now, the Board of Elections, they print out a book.
Well, yes, they do, and they print it, and it's published in English and Spanish. Mm-hmm. That's right.
But it's not distributed to the 1.5 million people that live here.
No.
How many are distributed?
In the last, it's under 1,000.
Who are they distributed to?
Well, according to officials at the Board of Elections, they're distributed to ward leaders.
Does that make sense to you?
Well, in a certain way, in the context of a corrupt town where the Board of Elections is paying more attention to ward leaders than they are to other people, it makes perfect sense.
And I guess that is one of the problems of why Philly's not a democracy, right?
That is one of the problems of why Philly is not a democracy.
Oh, you and I have talked about the Voting Rights Act, after 50, right? It's
Yes.
50, and we talked about improvements to the Voting Rights Act, and not just the ability to vote, but the ability to know who we're voting for. Would you support, as either a citizen or as a city commissioner, an amendment to the Voting Rights Act that makes it clear that the lack of information for the everyday citizen is voter suppression?
Yes.
How do we build public will to get other people to see that? And how long have you thought about information in terms of voter suppression? Is that something that you've always thought about?
Well, I started thinking about it when I myself was a ward leader of the 8th Ward in Center City in the Democratic Party. And I took as my mission to empower the Democratic voters of the 8th Ward. I figured that's my job as a leader, is to empower the people I lead to get their issues addressed by government. So that's when I really started thinking about information about the choices in an election. Because part of what we did as a ward committee was to tell other people about who was on the ballot and to make recommendations about who to vote for. And that's when it became really crystal clear to me that how difficult it is to get good information. So for example, here in Philadelphia we vote for judges, and in November we're voting for judicial retention. Basically, judges have a 4 or 10-year contract, and what we're doing is we are voting whether we're going to renew their contracts or not. So if you sit down and you say, okay, well, I have this employee, and I want to evaluate how this employee is doing, meaning the judge, we're the people, the judge works for us, and you start to say, well, how can I get information on, I don't know, what their conviction rate is, or if there have been complaints about them. There's no easy place to go to get that information about a judge. And yet we are going to go and vote up or down. Does this judge stay or go? Does this judge stay or go? It's an incredibly powerful thing that we the people, it's an incredible power that we the people have. But if we are kept from the information we need to use it wisely, then that cuts into our power, our democratic power.
Last question, how do you see that, let's say you're able to create, awesome information banks, you're able to aggregate the sources that you need. How do you see media companies and communication outlets best serving the people and helping to get that information out there?
Part of it is, well, just by doing it. Just by...
No formal way, just do it.
Just do it the way you get other information out. What other kinds of things need information getting out? You have a recall for some automobile, right? You get the information out. However it is that you get out important information. I mean, it would be nice if they got it out the same way they get out the information about how to subscribe to their media service, right? I mean, that would be awesome. But short of that, yeah, just do it. Look, pretend that it's vital information for national security and put it out that way, because you know what? It is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you guys wanted the truth. You guys wanted candor from politicians. This is City Commissioner Stephanie Singer, who oversees fair and free elections in the city, admitting that she too doesn't have the information that she always needs, and that we all have to do a better job to make sure that we're all in this city better informed and engaged. Stephanie, you got the last word?
Yeah, I do. I want to say that the way you learn about elections is by going and voting and getting engaged and watching your government. So don't ever stay out of the booth because you think you don't know enough. Nobody knows enough. You do know enough because you are a citizen, you have life experiences, and it is absolutely fine to ask a friend, a neighbor, or an organization that has touched your life to tell you, who do you think I should vote for? That is perfectly fine, and that is part of democracy. So don't feel like you have to be the instant expert. You can lean on the people around you. That's democracy. You're leaning on the people around you.
That's democracy, and hopefully one day we'll live to see it. Until next time, I'm Flood the Drummer, and I'm drumming for justice.